Hey guys, GW here, your favorite autopsy tech. I was gonna make a video showing you some of the tools that I use and some descriptions of them. My wife keeps telling me, you need to make a video about the tools you use. So here we go. When you first come in for an autopsy, we document all your clothing, we take pictures of you. If you're a homicide, we will preserve your clothes, we'll save your clothes to be submitted to the police agency working your case to see if they want any type of like trace evidence or collect anything off the clothing. If you are like say a car wreck, or if you went to the hospital, they've cut some of your clothes off trying to save you, and so we use the same type. We got trauma scissors where we cut your clothes off, and then if your clothing isn't soiled with blood or anything like that, we will remove your clothing and then bag it up and send it with you after the autopsy to the funeral home. So that's one thing we do. We cut the clothing. If your clothing's already soiled or biohazard, it's got blood or guts or anything on it, then we'll just cut your clothes off. I put you on the table after we remove your clothing. Are you falling? Camera's falling. Don't fall. Okay, here we go. Sorry. I was like, wait, is this camera going downhill? My amateur camera work here. Okay, here we go. After we put you on the table, we photograph you, you're all cleaned up. I do the Y incision. So shoulder to shoulder to the middle of the sternum and then down. I use a scalpel handle. And we have blades that we use, I guess, surgical blades. There we go, like that. I'll pop one of these bad boys open and put it on the handle for you, like that. The camera keeps falling down. No, don't fall. There we go. There we go. There we go. That's a scalpel handle. I'll do the Y incision. It's very, 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 very sharp. One of the things I do is I collect vitreous, your eye fluid. They can run toxicology screening on that. So we have a 10 milliliter syringe with a 16 or 18 gauge needle. Stick that in your eye, collect your vitreous, and also stick that in your heart, collect your heart blood. Put that back on there. Never recap a needle. Whatever I just did, don't do it. So toxicology, I collect your eye fluid, which is vitreous. I collect your heart blood, and I collect urine. We used to collect stomach contents, but now we just visually look at it, see what's in there, see if you took a bunch of pills, see if you swallowed something. So we'll just make note of your stomach contents now. We don't test it. We test your vitreous. They can do electrolytes on that. We test your blood and your urine. We do extensive drug screen on that. I have a bigger needle to collect your urine. It's a 30 milliliter. And we stick that in your bladder. Suck it up. And our bottles for urine will hold 60 milliliters, but we don't usually fill the bottle up. We don't need that much urine. So usually if I can get a whole 30, then that's what we send for toxicology. Come on, there we go. Sorry, my camera work is not very good. Oh no, don't fall. There we go. Got you on a stand here and you keep falling. Let's see. So collecting tox, Y incision, needles. Let's talk about your head. So I remove your brain for a complete autopsy. So I would make a incision with my scalpel here from top of the ear up and over to the top of ear over here, and then I'll reflect or pull back your scalp down, and then I'll pull your scalp up and flip it over your eyes. So your whole scalp is visible, and I take a bone saw and I will cut up and over to remove your skull cap, to remove the top of your head, till I can get to the brain. I'll show you the bone saw here in a second, but once the skull cap is removed, I can see the top of your brain. I'll reach in and I'll pull the brain back, and I'll cut your optic nerves, and then I'll take this long handle and I'll go all the way down and try to get as much as the brainstem as I can, and then I'll remove the brain. And around the brain, let's just get rid of that. There we go. Around the brain is your dura and dura mater, and we use dura strippers to pull that out, and so we can look at your skull, make sure you don't have a fracture. So somebody didn't hit you in the head and you have a fracture. Like a lot of car wrecks will have a fracture, sometimes halfway or all the way around, and we'll be able to document that. We'll be able to photograph that, and that's why we use these dura strippers and pull the dura out to make sure that you didn't have any type of skull fractures. When it goes all the way around, we call that a hinge fracture. The T-bar. This is a T-bar, or they call it a church key. What we do is we use this to crack your skull open. Like I'll use the bone saw and go all the way around, but then we can stick this in there and it will help pop the skull cap off. Use the dura strippers to pull the dura out. What other tools we got? After I remove all your pieces, and we put them in this bucket here in a bag. When the doctor is done taking sections of each organ, I'll set the bag back in your chest, and then I use a needle and string, and I will, right at the Y incision, I will put a stitch right there, and then I'll get the top part. So all three pieces that split open, I will put a stitch right there, and I will send you to the funeral home. And once you get to the funeral home, they will put embalming fluid in that bag of viscera or body parts, so it will be embalmed, and it'll kind of help dry out so you don't leak in your casket or whatever. So we got scissors, scalpel blade, handle, duras, strippers, T-bar, needles, needles. It's when I do the Y incision, I also, so your rib cage is exposed, and what we use is hedge clippers to cut your ribs. I know it sounds crazy, but you'll make cuts through the ribs all the way to the collarbone with hedge clippers to get the chest plate off, so I can get to your heart and your lungs and your liver. I'll show you. Field trip. All right, so over here we have, set you up on the autopsy table here. So we have the hedge clippers. Use these, cut your ribs. I'll do a reverse V, like I do the Y incision, but then I go the other way to get to your collarbone, so I can get your neck and your throat, heart, and your lungs out. We use hedge clippers. These are Fiskars. I guess it's backwards. Maybe it'll flip it. This is the bone saw. This is what I use to remove your skull cap and get to your brain. It is basically the same type of saw they use when you get a cast and they need to cut your cast off. This oscillates back and forth really fast. So when it touches tissue, it'll just vibrate the tissue. But if it hits like bone or something solid, it will cut through it. So the first time I used it, I was scared to death because I was going around and then I slipped and I hit my hand and I was like, oh, I just cut my hand, but it didn't. I didn't understand that it vibrates back and forth. Let me show you. It's gonna be a little loud. Here we go. Doesn't cut tissue, but will cut bone, wood, a cast. So it just vibrates back and forth. When it hits soft tissue, it just vibrates it. But when I went against something hard like this piece of wood, it actually cut the wood, and it cuts bone, but it won't cut tissue. It's crazy. So these are some of the autopsy tools I used. Sorry, the video's not very good. The camera kept falling. I don't know what I'm doing. Thank you so much. If you made it to the end of the video, please give me a like, a comment, and follow if you're not following me already. Appreciate it.